Welcome back to our channel History Coins HD. As you that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln Wheat penny coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. You've just stepped into another episode of the most exciting journey through pocket change, hidden gems, and the forgotten treasures of American history. Today, we're unlocking a story that's as rich in history as it is in value, the mystery and magic behind one of the rarest pennies ever struck in the United States, the 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny. Now, before you go tossing out that jar of old pennies, listen closely. One of those little brown coins just might be worth more than your car, your house, or even your entire savings account. To understand why this penny is so incredibly valuable, we need to take a trip back in time. The year is 1944. The world is at war. American factories are booming, and every resource is being redirected toward the war effort. The U.S. Mint, like many institutions during this time, was under pressure to conserve valuable metals for military use. That's why, in 1943, pennies were made out of zinc-coated steel instead of copper, which was needed for ammunition and electronics. But then came 1944, and copper was reintroduced for pennies, sort of. That's where things get really interesting. Most 1944 pennies were made using recycled shell casings from the war. These shell case cents were copper-based but slightly different in composition from pre-war pennies. Millions of these were minted. But in the chaos and high production volume of the time, a few mistakes happened. And one of those mistakes created the coin we're talking about today. Somehow, in the Denver Mint, yes, the one with the little D mark under the date, a few pennies were struck using the leftover steel planchets from 1943 instead of the new copper ones intended for 1944. It was a small error, but one that turned an ordinary penny into a numismatic legend. Imagine that. A simple slip in a busy minting process turned a piece of 1-cent currency into one of the most sought-after coins in American history. The 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny that was struck on a steel planchet is not just rare, it's a ghost. It's the kind of coin most collectors will go their entire lives without ever seeing in person. And it's not just about the metal. It's the combination of date, mint mark, and composition that makes this penny so extraordinary. A 1944 steel penny has all the markings of a common coin, yet it's made of an entirely different material than it should be. That contradiction is what sets it apart. Let's talk about what to look for, because believe it or not, you might be holding one of these rarities and not even know it. First, check the date, 1944. Then, look for the small d just below the year. Now, here's the real test. If your coin looks silvery or gray instead of that classic copper color, you may have something special. You can even try a magnet. If it sticks, it's steel, and if it's steel from 1944 with a D mint mark, you might just be looking at a six-figure coin. Collectors and experts recommend using a magnifying glass to check details like wear, strike quality, and clarity of the mint mark. A professional appraisal is always a good idea if you suspect you have something special. But why is this coin so valuable? Is it just the rarity? Partially, yes, but it's more than that. This penny represents a moment frozen in time, a symbol of wartime America, or even coins tell a story of resourcefulness, error, and historical significance. It's a tangible piece of the past that has survived decades of change and circulation. Now here comes the part you've all been waiting for, the value. How much could one of these 1944 steel Lincoln Wheat pennies actually be worth if it's in the right condition and authenticated by a professional? Hold on to your seats, because these coins have been known to sell at auction for prices ranging from $105,000 all the way up to $130,000. Yes, you heard that right. A penny that was originally worth just 1 cent could now be worth over $100,000. That's the magic of coin collecting, the thrill of discovering something rare, valuable, and packed with history, right in your own pocket. Change.so the next time you come across an old jar of coins or see a wheat penny lying around, don't ignore it. Examine it. Appreciate it. Who knows? You might just be holding a piece of history that could change your life. Top 2. We're diving into the world of American numismatics to explore a coin that many overlook but only a few truly understand, a small piece of copper that holds a fascinating story and an extraordinary value. We're talking about none other than the elusive and mysterious 1945 Lincoln Wheat penny. At first glance, this coin might look like any other old penny. You might even have one sitting at the bottom of your change jar or tucked away in an old drawer. But don't let its humble appearance fool you. Because under the right circumstances, this tiny coin could be worth a staggering amount of money, and we'll get to exactly how much in just a moment. Let's step back in time to 1945. The Second World War was finally coming to a close. Victory was on the horizon, and America was breathing a long sigh of relief. Factories that once produced ammunition and tanks were shifting back to making everyday goods. The war had left its mark on every part of society, including coinage. During the war, in 1943, pennies were famously struck using steel coated with zinc because copper was urgently needed for military equipment. But by 1944, the U.S. Mint had switched back to copper, though much of it was repurposed from spent ammunition shell casings. That makes the 1944 and 1945 pennies especially significant, as they were literally made from the remnants of war. The 1945 D Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which is represented by the small d mark under the date. It features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, serious, thoughtful, and forever watching over America's change. On the reverse, the coin displays two wheat stalks flanking the bold words 1 cent and United States of America, a simple, yet powerful design that collectors have loved for generations. But among the millions of 1945 D pennies that were produced, there are a few that stand out. These are not just rare, they're extraordinary. Some coins from this batch were struck with unusual precision, using slightly different metal compositions or produced under rare minting conditions. A select number of 1945 D pennies were never meant to be released in the first place. Whether due to minting errors, experimental planchets, or production anomalies, these rare variants can turn a coin that most would consider ordinary into a collector's dream. So, what makes a 1945 D wheat penny incredibly valuable? It's all about the details, literally. Coins with sharp, full strikes, clear mint marks, and no post-mint damage are considered uncirculated or mint state. The higher the grade, the more a coin is worth. And when it comes to rare mint errors, like double die obverse, off-center strikes, or wrong metal compositions, the value can skyrocket. Some 1945 D pennies have been discovered with extremely unusual features, a slightly lighter color indicating a different alloy, or a weight that doesn't match the standard 3.11 grams of a regular copper cent. Others may have a repunched mint mark or signs of a double die, features that are almost invisible to the naked eye but incredibly desirable to seasoned collectors. Now, here's where things get exciting. If you happen to find a 1945 D Lincoln Wheat Penny in flawless condition, or one that exhibits any of these rare minting anomalies, you could be sitting on a coin that's worth far more than a single cent. Imagine holding a penny in your hand and realizing that it could change your life. That's the kind of thrill coin collectors live for. That's what makes the hunt so exhilarating. And it's why this seemingly simple 1945 D wheat penny continues to spark so much fascination today. So, how much could a rare, pristine 1945 D Lincoln Wheat Penny actually be worth? Take a deep breath, because this coin, under the right circumstances, can sell for anywhere between $100,000 and $125,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 1-cent coin from 1945, originally created as everyday pocket change, could now be worth more than a luxury car or even a down payment on a house. So, don't overlook those old pennies. Examine them closely. Look for the D mint mark under the year. Check the color, the weight, and any unusual markings. Because sometimes, the most valuable treasures are hidden in plain sight. Top 3. Get ready to take another thrilling dive into the incredible world of rare coins and hidden American treasures. Today, we're unlocking the secrets of a coin that might just be hiding in plain sight. It's a small, copper-colored piece of history that could be worth more than most people ever imagine. The 1950 D Lincoln Wheat Penny. This isn't just another old coin story. This is a journey into a mystery minted in the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado, where a very special penny was produced that has become one of the most sought-after finds in the numismatic world. So grab your magnifying glass, maybe even your lucky penny jar, because what you're about to learn could change how you look at pennies forever. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, first introduced in 1909, has become one of the most iconic and beloved coins in American history. It features the timeless image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, a tribute to the president who led the country through its darkest times. On the reverse, two classic wheat stalks frame the bold words 1 cent, symbolizing strength, unity, and growth. This simple yet powerful design stood strong for half a century before being replaced in 1959. Now, fast forward to 1950. Post-war America was on the rise. The economy was booming, the baby boom had begun, and the nation was shifting gears into a new era. But at the Denver Mint, something peculiar happened, a minor detail, perhaps, but one that would set the stage for one of the rarest coin finds of the mid-20th century. The 1950 D penny might look like any other wheat cent to the untrained eye. It has the same copper tone, the same size, and that familiar D mint mark right under the date. But in the world of coin collecting, it's often the smallest differences that make the biggest impact. Most 1950 D pennies were struck in massive numbers. Millions rolled out of the Denver Mint, which makes people wonder, how could one of them be worth a fortune? The answer lies in what collectors call high-grade uncirculated condition and minting anomalies. In simple terms, not all pennies are created equal. A regular 1950 D penny that's been in circulation, scratched up and worn down by decades of use, might only be worth a few cents. But one that's been perfectly preserved, with no signs of wear, a brilliant red color, and razor-sharp details, that's where things get interesting. Then there are the mysterious and rare varieties. Some 1950 D pennies were struck with a repunched mint mark where the D was stamped more than once, slightly off-center each time. Others may have been struck using a worn die or show signs of doubling, die cracks, or planchet irregularities. These tiny minting errors might not mean much to the average person, but to collectors, they are gold mines. Imagine pulling a coin out of your collection and realizing that a small detail, barely visible to the naked eye, is what makes it worth tens of thousands of dollars. That's the magic of numismatics, and here's something even more exciting. Because of the time period and how coins were distributed, many of these rare 1950 D varieties ended up in everyday pockets, change jars, and old coffee cans hidden in attics and basements across the country. In other words, there's still a real chance that one of these rare coins could be sitting, forgotten, in your own home. If you want to know whether your 1950 D penny is special, start by checking the color and shine. Mint state coins often still have their original red luster, almost like they were struck yesterday. Then, examine the details under magnification. Look at the D mint mark closely. Is it crisp? Is there doubling? Any unusual marks or raised lines? If something seems different or unusual, you might just be looking at a rare variant, but don't rely on guesswork. Getting your coin professionally graded and authenticated is essential if you suspect you found something valuable. Third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC can confirm your coin's condition and certify its rarity, which is crucial if you ever plan to sell it or put it up for auction. Now comes the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to own a 1950 D Lincoln Wheat Penny in flawless, uncirculated condition, or better yet, one with a rare minting error, then congratulations. You might just be holding a coin that could sell for anywhere between $90,000 and $120,000. That's right. A single penny from 1950, weighing just over 3 grams, could be worth more than an entire year's salary, a luxury car, or even a down payment on your dream home. So the next time you come across a handful of change or dig through an old collection, take a closer look. Because that one copper coin could be the key to an unbelievable discovery. Top 4. We're diving deep into the story of one of the most underrated yet surprisingly valuable coins in American history, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that most people overlook, one you might find at the bottom of an old piggy bank, could actually be a silent fortune waiting to be discovered. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and just how much one of these little copper wonders could be worth. Let's begin by setting the scene. The year is 1953. America is in the midst of a post-war boom. The Korean War has just come to a close, and President Dwight D. Eisenhower is settling into his first term in office. Families are buying homes, kids are riding their bikes down suburban streets, and everywhere, pennies are jingling in pockets, purses, and soda machines. But among all that everyday change, a few special coins made their way into the world, coins that would one day become rare collector's items, highly sought after for their detail, condition, and sometimes, the mysterious errors that make them one of a kind. Enter the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This coin carries a design that's familiar to every American, the dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front, facing right, and on the reverse, 2 wheat stalks curving inward toward the bold, proud lettering of 1 cent and United States of America. It's a classic. Clean, simple, and full of symbolism. A tribute to a president who stood for unity, justice, and freedom, and to a time when even small change was crafted with care. And now, millions of these pennies were minted in 1953 across 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of them circulated through cash registers, lunch counters, and newspaper stands without a second thought. But here's the thing, not all 1953 pennies are created equal. Among those millions, a very limited number were struck under perfect conditions. These are the coins collectors dream about: flawless surfaces, sharp details, rich original luster. Coins that never made it into circulation and remained untouched by time, tucked away in rolls or hidden in private collections. These mint state coins are the first part of the puzzle when it comes to value, but then, there are the real wildcards, the error coins. Some 1953 pennies were struck using misaligned dies, or featured doubling on the date or lettering. Others may show signs of repunched mint marks, die cracks, or being struck on the wrong metal planchet entirely. These minting mistakes turn a regular coin into a rare anomaly. And the best part? Most of these errors are invisible to the casual observer unless you're really looking for them. So why does this matter? Because even the smallest mistake, when verified, can send the value of a penny soaring. That's right. A tiny flaw that happened in the US Mint over 70 years ago could turn your 1-cent coin into a life-changing payday. And here's something exciting: coins from 1953 are still turning up in collections, estate sales, and even in everyday pocket change. That means the opportunity is still out there. You just have to know what to look for. Start by examining the date, make sure it's clear, with no smudging or doubling. Look below the date for a mint mark. D means Denver, S means San Francisco, and no letter means Philadelphia. Pay close attention to any signs of doubling, odd spacing in letters, unusual shine, or signs the coin was struck off-center. And of course, always check the color. Coins with a full red luster are especially valuable, as they indicate the coin has barely aged. Now, don't get ahead of yourself. Not every old penny is worth a fortune. But when you find one with the right features, perfect condition, rare errors, or both, then you've got something truly special in your hands. And that brings us to the big moment. If you're lucky enough to discover a 1953 Lincoln Wheat penny that has been graded in high mint state, or one that includes an authentic and rare mint error, then brace yourself. Because that coin, that 1-cent piece of American history, could sell for anywhere between $85,000 and $115,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. That tiny copper coin that once bought a piece of candy could now buy you a new car, a year of college tuition, or even a house in some places. That's the thrill of coin collecting. That's the joy of history. And that's why we're here, to help you spot the stories, the value, and the opportunity hiding in plain sight. Top 5. We're talking about the 1958 Lincoln Wheat penny, a coin that seems ordinary at first glance, but under the right conditions, can be anything but ordinary. In fact, if you're lucky enough to find the right one, you might just be holding a treasure that could change your life. Let's start with a little historical context. The year is 1958. America is standing tall and strong. NASA has just been founded, Elvis is climbing the charts, and the highways are stretching across the nation. It's a time of optimism and growth, and yes, pennies are still buying gumballs, newspapers, and even the occasional cup of coffee. Amid all this, the US Mint is busy striking the final batch of Lincoln Wheat pennies. That's right, 1958 marks the last year of the beloved wheat ear reverse design. Starting in 1959, the reverse would be replaced with the Lincoln Memorial. So this coin is more than just a penny, it's the end of an era. And now, millions of these coins were produced in 1958. Most were struck in Philadelphia and Denver, and you can tell where yours came from by checking just below the date. No mint mark? That's Philadelphia. A small d? That's Denver. So if millions of these coins were made, how could one of them be valuable? The answer lies in condition, rarity, and in some cases an incredibly famous and mysterious minting error. Let's break it down. First, there's condition. A 1958 penny that's been tossed in pockets, dropped in jars, or passed through cash registers probably isn't worth much more than face value. But if you find a 1958 wheat penny that looks like it just came out of the mint, sharp details, no wear, and that original fiery red copper color, you're already looking at something much more desirable to collectors. Then come the errors and varieties. And this is where things get exciting. In the world of coins, errors can be worth their weight in gold. Some of the most valuable 1958 pennies known to exist have what's called a doubled die obverse. That means the design was accidentally stamped twice ever so slightly off, creating a ghostly doubling effect on the letters and numbers. The words Liberty, In God We Trust, and even the date 1958 can appear slightly shadowed or doubled if this error is present. But it's not always easy to spot. Many people have spent years collecting pennies without ever noticing. That's why taking a closer look, especially under magnification, is so important. These doubled die errors are incredibly rare, especially for the 1958 wheat penny. In fact, only a very limited number of true doubled die examples have ever been confirmed. And when they're found in pristine, uncirculated condition, that's when the value really skyrockets. Imagine holding a coin that was struck with a mistake so subtle it went unnoticed by the mint, but that very mistake, combined with perfect condition and a historic date, makes it one of the most prized pennies in American numismatics. Now here's the best part. These rare coins are still out there. In old collections. In dusty jars. In drawers, boxes, and forgotten folders. Some might be sitting in family coin albums that haven't been opened in decades. And with the 1958 penny being the last of the wheat-ear design, demand from collectors has only grown. So, how can you tell if you have something valuable? Step 1. Examine the coin's condition. A brilliant red tone, strong strike, and no signs of wear is a great start. Step 2. Check for doubling, especially on the date and lettering. If it looks odd, take it seriously. Step 3. If you think you might have a rare variety, send it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can confirm authenticity and assign a grade, which is crucial when it comes to market value, because, believe it or not, if you're holding one of those rare 1958 doubled die wheat pennies in exceptional condition, its value could fall anywhere between $75,000 and $105,000. That's right. One tiny, copper coin, once worth just a single cent, could now be worth more than a year's salary, a luxury vacation, or even a house in some parts of the country. So, take a moment and check your change. Go through that old penny jar, revisit the coins your grandparents might have passed down. Because one of the most valuable pennies in U.S. history might just be waiting for you to notice it. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey into American coinage. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another chance to discover rare and valuable coins hiding in plain sight. Until next time, stay curious, stay observant, and as always, happy hunting.